All right, thank you for joining. Today we will go over NVIDIA, a little late night analysis. And yeah, I'm sure everyone is familiar with this insanely parabolically bullish stock, right? So let's go ahead and dive into what we expect next from NVIDIA based on the current price action. As we can see, we just had a massive move to the upside. It's basically been, you can't really say this has just been over the past few years. You start zooming back and it's really just been parabolic ever since this breakout right here, 2016. So ever since 2016, it's been pretty much parabolic, right? It went from, let's go back here, you're talking $1 to $184, 184x, right? So very bullish project. So you can see here we had this range, right, with a high of 150 down to around $90. Price clearly broke out of it, and now we are consolidating, right? So we go ahead and drop down to the weekly time frame. You can see we made a very significant weekly low here, right? Made another weekly swing high here, another weekly swing low right here, and another weekly swing high right here. Now this one is not as relevant right now. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but long story short, let's go ahead and just put that like so. You see this weekly swing low, another weekly swing low right here, right? Currently has been defended. Last time it attempted to break this low was the week of December 15th. Took out this swing high, and it looks like it's trying to curl over a little bit. So let's go ahead and go down to the daily time frame, right? Let's get a little bit better look at what's going on. So this was the weekly swing high, which was taken, right? It tried to trade higher, or pretty much like have an auction to the upside over $195. Failed to maintain over 212, came back down. Buyer stepped in at the lows at around 180, came back up to try to trade back above this swing high. It did for about 1 day before failing, and no one's really interested in buying NVIDIA above $195, right? So that's where the value on the high side is pretty much tapped out right now, is 195. So as you can see, failed to trade above that level, came back in, traded all the way back down. They defended these lows, buyers defended these lows, but again, price traded up, closed on the 19th, opened up right back at that level, 195, before failing and coming back down. So there's still a lot of sell side pressure, right at that level. Market makers, the system, people just do not think NVIDIA is worth, at this very moment, over $195. So with that being said, more sellers came in, broke the lows, buyers stepped in again, tried to push it up, and then only got to about 50% of this range right here, right? Before sellers stepped in again, buyers defended the lows and brought price to the upside. So now looking at this, it got very close to 195 before failing one more time, right? And you can't really say you're surprised at this point, making a series of swing highs, right? So last month's high was at 192, came back above, took some liquidity, right? Buy side liquidity on the 5th of January before trading back down. And it's just been range bound the last few days before finally breaking below last week's low, which came in at 185. So closed below 185, and now we're struggling to even make it above 185, which leads me to believe that there's a good chance we can rotate to at least 50% of the value of last month, which would lead us to around $181.50, which would also close this CME gap right here. Obviously, if we go to the extended trading hours, that kind of has already closed up, but New York is where the high volume comes in. So New York session hasn't closed this gap yet, right? So in my opinion, just based on what I'm seeing here, on NVIDIA, zooming in a little bit more on the 4-hour, you can see there's just clear signs of weakness. Sellers just keep stepping in, selling their positions, selling their positions, selling their positions. Big seller came in here, got rid of their position, and still it won't close above last week's low. If we start to trade above 185, then I would expect to see price to then once again attempt to get back to this 195 level, right? But until then, it's looking like it wants to push to the downside, grab some more orders, take out these lows, maybe even come down a little bit, test this little chunk of price action here, right? Which wouldn't be too surprising, because in terms of the overall previous month range, that's around right where the golden pocket is, or the .75 retracement zone. All right, and .78, what I like to call the nav zone, something I created, or not really created, but just the way how I like to set my Fibonacci's. .75, .78 seems to be a very highly respected level when it comes to the markets lately. Pull it to the high, to the lows. You can see there's a lot of respect at those levels. So I wouldn't be surprised to see price come back down to even 175 before some buyers try to step in again and send it higher. As you can see here, buyers stepped in, sent it higher from this 175 zone, which is also a psychological level, right? So just something to keep in mind. But at this very moment, NVIDIA is looking like it wants to head down to the 175 zone. And you can see this bullish fair value gap that was printed, right? There you go. Pull this over here. If we do manage to start trading below this fair value gap, I would not be surprised to see price come down, take yesterday's lows, keep getting rejected here, and once you really start seeing weakness, my plan would be to go short and yes, aim for these lows down here, right? Taking out some of this efficiency, balancing out last month's range a little bit more, before then seeing what it does next. Maybe it builds some value, holds these levels, makes higher highs, higher lows, and then shoots back for that 195 one more time. Or maybe, just maybe, when you do zoom out, it has a little bit of a bigger correction and starts to aim for this 163 zone, right? Not impossible. It's also not impossible for it to come down to here as well, right? It seems a little far, but the reality of the situation is it's really not that far. And I would not be surprised to see this level get retested, the 150, which also lines up as a psychological number and lines up with this weekly fair value gap. So yeah, this could take a few months, right? But it's definitely something that can happen, right? So, weekly is bearish, currently making lower lows and lower highs, right? So this was a swing low. This is now a new swing low, which is lower than this swing low. So lower lows came up. It's about to make a swing high. So that would be a lower high, aiming to at least take out these lows before coming up and just rotating something like that, right? Before eventually probably going back up. So I am bearish on NVIDIA. I'm thinking we're going to get a move to the downside. Might not happen because it is just a very strong project, but right now this is just showing that the sellers are currently in control. And until we start trading above last week's low, I would stay out of it. So in terms of longs, I would not be looking for longs, just aiming for lower, especially if we start flipping this 184 zone into resistance, then yes, I would definitely aim for 175. So that's pretty much it with NVIDIA. Thank you for joining. Remember to like and subscribe. Follow me on X at Navitility. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.